Well, hello there. Coming at you live from the Poconos, Pennsylvania as a homeschool mom. Here to show you what I'm using to teach my second grader at home learning. I will preface by saying that everybody homeschools differently. So this is just what works for us currently. Also, the year just started this past week. And that being said, that means that things could change. I could remove a couple of things from his curriculum if we don't like it, it's not working for him. I could add a few things if I just stumble upon something that I like. And as I will always say, that is just the great thing about homeschooling. There is so much freedom and I could do whatever I want and we could do whatever works for us. And currently that's what we're doing. So now that my oldest son is in second grade, he is 7 years old, and we are pretty much adding on to our curriculum a couple extra subjects. Last year and kindergarten year, I kind of pretty much stuck to reading, writing, and arithmetic. I did try to introduce some other little things like historical things or even scientific things. But for him, it just wasn't really, he wasn't really at a place where he was ready to retain that information. I might not have just found the right resources for that time, but it doesn't matter. So this year I did decide to add a couple of extra subjects. I'll start right off with the basis of what we follow. And this is my third year homeschooling, and I have stuck tried and true to easy peasy all-in-one homeschool. This curriculum is more biblically sound. It does also offer biblical teachings outside of just the regular. So that being said, our reading, writing, and arithmetic does come from Easy Peasy. This is the book we're currently working on. I'm sorry it's backwards, but it's EP Workbook Math Level 2 and EP Language Arts Workbook Level 2. Cool thing about Easy Peasy is if you would like to, you don't have to, but they do come with a parent's guide. So I do purchase those just so in case I get a little lost, because let's be for real. This is second grade learning, so it's not that hard, but also there's sometimes where I'm just like, I need to brush up on some things. I've been out of school for a long time. So language arts and math, we are doing Easy Peasy. We did all last year with grade 1 learning, and he really excelled and did a great job with it, so I just stuck with that. This is the first year I'm going to be adding this Easy Peasy second reader workbook. There was a first reader workbook that I did not do last year. I stuck to their book. It was called, I should have pulled it out, but it was called Learning to Read with Easy Peasy, and it's mainly sight word learning as for reading, and my child excelled with that. He is a fantastic reader for only being 7 years old. That's probably like what he's the best at, and I really have to tribute to Easy Peasy for helping him learn to read. So for our kind of like intro to science learning, I did find this book on Amazon, and literally all I did was search first grade science book. And this is about the human body. It is called The Human Body Activity Book for Kids. This is by Katie Stokes. And I was able to kind of browse through it on Amazon, the reviews, and after receiving it and looking through myself, it just solidified to me this is a really, really great start to learning something like human anatomy. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this, as well as I'm probably going to do a little bit of like zoology kind of things, maybe even economic sciences. We'll see how it goes. This is what we're going to start out with, see how we get through this, and then I'll go from there. And then our last major subject is a social studies / history kind of, my first grade geography workbook. Yes, it says first grade. No, we did not learn much about geography. I could tell you that my son does not particularly understand distance and looking at a map. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to him because he never really learned how it makes sense. So I did find this again. I skimmed through it. On Amazon, I just looked up kids geography workbook. This is by Molly Lynch. Definitely see more his speed, and we're looking forward to going through that as well. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, the greatest thing about homeschooling is I can do whatever I want, and if I decide that like something's not working, or I want to tweak things, or I decide, you know what, maybe geography is not the right type of social study to start out with, and I want to look into something else and do that. Same thing with human anatomy, the human body. If I decide, well, maybe we won't do this one right now, though I'm actually really intrigued to start this book. Maybe I want to start off on a different science. It's really as easy as just like looking it up. And truly, there is a common misconception that homeschooling is really expensive. It's really not. Actually, these workbooks were minimal. I think the most I've ever spent on a workbook is like $15 for one book. So the amount that I spent on my child's curriculum, plus I have a preschooler, which I'll do a video on that of what I'm showing and using for him as well, cost less than $100. So essentially less than what you probably paid for to buy new clothes for your kids for the school year. So just want to throw that out there as well. It's a very common misconception that homeschooling is super expensive. It's really, really not. So that's all I'm using. If there's any questions that I can answer, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will see if I can be of any assistance.